Hi, everybody. How we doing?
Good.
Good.
Good. A few more minutes here, so hopefully we get a good group of people today.
Who's leading this meeting?
That will be me, Nancy.
All right.
Lori's going to chime in for some legislative stuff relating to bills and how members can sign in pro for the bills. And then I'll be covering membership and related topics to that.
Great.
Hey, Jacob.
Yeah.
Had a little bit of a discrepancy between the PDF for chapter 21 and the Excel listing.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably just need to call you back and talk to you about it.
Okay.
There were a couple of names there that were on the PDF list, but not on the Excel list.
Okay. Yeah, that I would definitely like to look into that. Yeah, so definitely follow up with me on that, Stephen. I can figure out what's going on there.
Okay.
Thanks for letting me know.
Actually, Jacob, while we wait,
Yeah.
when I import the CVS file or whatever into my Gmail,
Right.
it doesn't put the phone number or the email address automatically into my contact list.
Oh, strange. Okay.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I actually had to go through and, because a couple of people that are going to legislative day, I was going to send them an email and they didn't come up. And so I didn't think I had them. And then I found them. And
Okay.
found their email address and phone numbers were in the data that's below the contact, but I had to manually add the phone numbers and the email addresses.
Okay. Yeah, that should not be happening. Do you remember the member's name?
Was it Sandra Loveland?
Sandra Loveland.
Yeah.
Okay. And Steve, did you have the name for an example that you found on your report? And I can try just at least taking a look after this call.
Lawson.
Lawson.
There is a Mr. and Mrs. Lawson who appeared on the PDF list, but they did not appear on the Excel list.
Okay.
I think it's Lawson.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I'll look into both of those cases for you guys' chapters and see if there's some sort of common cause. I'm sure there is.
Okay.
Yeah,
So.
I actually went through each record one by one. And
Boy, I didn't do that.
gosh, I did
You're
because
dedicated.
we send out a lot of emails and I was really concerned about not having everybody's email address.
Yeah.
And I found that it was probably at least 10% that I had to manually put in the email and the phone numbers.
Okay. Yeah, that shouldn't be happening. So I'll look into that and figure out what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't double check each one of mine like Debbie did. So I don't know if I have more problems than just the one I mentioned.
Right. Yeah. So that if you see any others, you can give me a call or send me an email and I'll be sure to look into that.
Okay.
But I'll be following up with you guys next week after my findings today, after this call. So.
Okay, no hurry.
Okay.
I've got it fixed for now.
Okay, good. Yeah, as long as it's workable for now, but hopefully the next time around when I send it out, that they'll actually work the way they're supposed to.
Well, and I need to do better at when you send the ads and drops to keep my list, but my Google list, I need to keep it better.
Yeah. Yeah. And however I can support you in doing that. I have no problem exporting an Excel file, so you can use that to upload into your contacts there. So that totally works for me.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you all here. Let's see.
It
Oh, we've
looks
got
like,
a. Oh, go ahead.
it looks like Mike is at the South Pole. He's joining us from the South Pole.
That's funny.
I don't have it out. I don't have my picture on, my video on.
Appreciate all of you guys who are able to join us today. Should be a good discussion, and we'll wrap it up with some talks about any bills that are coming up for legislative day. Okay.
You have pictures here?
No.
You have camera? No. Can you send me email, by the way? Or maybe I can.
Was someone asking, was that a question directed to me? I think I'm hearing
Did you
somebody
not get
talk
this?
with somebody.
I
Okay.
don't know, just. Okay, thank you.
Jacob?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Colleen. Does that mean the
Unstable.
legislative meeting is not going to happen?
No, it is.
It is happening at 2. Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some material to get through, obviously, and I know some of you are going to be in that meeting, hopefully most of you, if not all of you. But so I'm going to try to, not take too long on this, but be somewhat thorough. Lori, should I go ahead and get started?
You can. May I ask something of some folks on the call? Claire and Carol, are you planning to be in the legislative update call at
Yeah.
2 o'clock?
Yeah.
Claire, are you planning to?
Yes.
Can both of you remain in that link for me so that I can speak to you about some key things afterward?
Oh, afterwards, okay.
Can you hang on after 3 o'clock so
Yeah.
that I can address some things with you? Okay.
For the legislative meeting, do we need to go out and come back in again, or can we sit and wait after this is over?
It's a different link. Yeah, this is very unusual where we have 2 meetings that are back to back. Yeah, they were scheduled at different times. This was put on the calendar, when we set the agenda a year ago or close to a year ago. So, so unfortunately, you're going to need to go out, but see, that'll give us a chance to go get some water or some coffee. So we'll all get a 1-minute break. I'm going to start the meeting. If everyone is good with that, I have 1:05, so we're getting a little bit of a late start. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our monthly leadership call. Today's call will be led by Jacob Knupp, our membership coordinator. And I joined a few minutes late, but we will carve out just a few minutes towards the end of his presentation for those who cannot stay for the legislative update call to give you a quick update so that you are in the information loop, because you are the leaders of the organization, and this is a perfect opportunity to share with you all the good that's going on. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Jacob. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you to everyone who could be here today. So the topics that I'm going to be covering in this presentation is going to be new recruitment strategies, the benefits and challenges of using both robocalls and Zoom, barriers to access for members, how we can adapt as an organization and as chapters to address our challenges, and then we will cover the details that Lori was just mentioning about some bills and how members can sign in pro for those bills. So moving forward, we'll start out with new recruitment strategies. So looking over membership plans and just kind of the history of the idea generation that membership has had, there's a lot of good ideas on paper out there. What I think at this point, we need something that is more scheduled, structured, measurable, implementation really. So we need to start kind of coming up with a a game plan for how we can all get together. You know, I'm talking chapter leaders, I'm talking district representatives, committees, and then the staff here at the office. How can we come together to better support chapter structure and to ensure that chapters are going to succeed and stick around? So yeah, an effort like that would be led by committees, representatives, and other people in leadership roles, as well as the staff. And so some of the ways that we can improve like the influx of members, new members coming into chapters, and to work on legislative priorities together with other organizations. We need to network with labor unions and affiliated organizations. One good example is WFC. I've been doing presentations to WFC locals about the benefits that their members could have with us if they were to extend their union membership to joining RPEC. So I think we've got a lot of different organizations that we can really tap into because their people are the perfect folks that we're looking for to be members. They're advocates, they're active, they're in a union. We don't just have union members, but it's an easy influx for us if we can tap into that and build a relationship. And I think that relationship is best built between chapter leaders and the locals in their area. And so that's something that I would like to support leaders in, but we have to actually make some sort of concrete plan. A lot easier said than done, but it's something that me and the membership committee are going to be working on, and it will be addressed in general with other committees and boards as well. Some other places we can look to recruit new members from is employers that are public service employers. We got some feedback. Oh, go ahead, Nancy. Nancy, you're muted.
Doing my best work. I was last night at the Thurston Lewis Mason Labor Council, and they have this new sort of approach. They're actually going to be involved in something called Labor in the Pulpit, and they're seeing connections between organizing and membership and common goals. I just thought it was interesting to mention, just something to keep in mind, that it might be something we have in common and mutual interest.
Yeah, no, that's I've never heard of that, so I will definitely look into it. I think that could be a really great resource for us. So yeah, examples like that where we can kind of identify a process that streamlines folks from these organizations into membership with RPEC. All right, so yeah, so approaching public service employers and just trying to get in there and be able to talk with employees about what we do, especially those folks that are approaching retirement. And one of the main points that we need to cover when we're trying to recruit people is the Union Plus AFSCME Advantage member-only benefits. That's something that really makes us unique compared to some other retiree unions, retiree advocacy groups. Even if a person has no interest in the political aspect of what we do, we provide direct benefits that have nothing to do with politics. And that is something that we can always sell membership on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward unless anybody has some questions or comments. All right. Okay, so I'm going to cover robocalls. I'm aware that not every chapter uses robocalls. I'm aware that not every chapter likes the idea of robocalls, and that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover the benefits and the challenges regarding robocalls based on the information that I've collected. So some of the benefits of robocalls is that Jack English, he is the person that runs Wizard Phone, and he is who you speak to on the phone when you're calling to get customer service. So he is extremely helpful. He's willing to be flexible and do some of the work for us to facilitate these robocalls, and that takes the burden off of chapter leaders. One thing that's helpful for my end of it is that when a robocall is done, the chapter leader, whoever set it up, their email, they'll receive a report that covers the status of each of the phone calls that were made to each of the numbers on the robocall list. So it'll tell you if numbers are disconnected or if the call failed for some reason. That is good information for me because I can go seek to update their contact info. Because if a member doesn't have current contact info, we may be getting their dues, but we can't have their participation. And that's really what we want to be able to offer to people. Robocalls are excellent in the sense that they reach the most people. Most people have a phone that you can call as long as the contact information is current. Not all of our members use email. So phone hits the largest group of people. Now, some of the challenges that come with that, though, is some people see it come across their phone as spam. And I know a lot of people won't even bother answering the phone if it appears to be spam. And so I'll be covering some additional features here in a minute that kind of some of these challenges. And I know that even the chapters that do currently use robocalls are not aware of these additional features. So another benefit of robocall is that you can use them for any level of notification, anywhere from a chapter meeting to mobilization efforts. It's really flexible in that sense because you just record a voice message and it automatically sends it out and your work's done. There's no caller ID for the robocalls. If a member misses the message, they can't call back. So if they didn't see that they got a voicemail or their voicemail was full for some reason, if they don't have that voicemail, they have no way to go back and listen to that message. And another thing is when there's a spouse and they share a phone number, looking to not double up and send 2 calls to the same phone number because then you get charged twice for it. So just things like that. These are real challenges that we face, but I'm going to go into the additional features available with robocalls that might be able to help out chapters quite a bit. So for an extra $25 a year from your chapter, so that's all 12 months, $25 total, you have access to some of these additional features. And the main feature being that Wizard Phone will purchase a phone number in your area with a local area code, so that the number that's coming across your members' screens is going to be a local number. And you can set it up to where it has caller ID. So you can make it say, RPEC chapter 21 or whatever. You can make it say what you want it to on the screen. So when members are getting these robocalls, it's not spam anymore. They actually see that it's supposed to be for them. It's something meant for them to hear. So, and one of the biggest benefits about these additional features is that you can call back the number that you got the message from and re-listen to the message. You can re-listen to the most recent message you got from that number as many times as you want. You just call back the number. That's not a feature available otherwise. They just have the voicemail option so that if you miss the call, you can at least try to listen to the voicemail. So once again, not all chapters are going to use robocalls, but when I saw this information, I thought that's huge because I know anytime I try to call a member and they don't recognize the number, they assume it's spam. I can't imagine how many members are not picking up robocalls, they're not listening to voicemails, and therefore they're missing out on all the information. So any chapters that do use robocalls or considering it as being a viable option for them, this is huge. For $25 a year, I feel like this eliminates a lot of barriers in trying to communicate with members. So does anybody have questions about challenges or benefits with the robocalls?
Okay, the additional information that gives out the caller ID.
Yeah.
And the callback number, that's all one package with
Yes.
Wizard Phone?
Yep. So if you pay that $25 extra a year, all 3 of those things I listed off, the local phone number, the caller ID, and the callback for hearing the message again, all 3 of those are part of that $25 a year service. So I was very surprised to see that it was so cheap, honestly, for how many issues that would eliminate for us. So yeah, good question, Steve. Any other questions? Oh, Nancy, go ahead.
Yes, just as an aside, there is a robocall bill at the legislature in case you hear that and it you think, oh no, they're going to crack down on us. It's just meant for scam people and it's sponsored by the AG office. It's 1051.
No, that's good clarification. I could see that being something to kind of raise some panic. So thanks for chiming in on that, Nancy. All right, I'm going to move on to covering some information about Zoom. So let's see here. So Zoom, obviously, many chapters have used it. Some still use it as either their sole way of chapter meetings or, doing the hybrid option. Some of the benefits of using Zoom for membership meetings is that you can get more meeting participation with the hybrid option. The council office can provide technical support from a distance, whereas it's a lot more challenging for us to try to regularly attend chapter meetings in person. Having a Zoom option would enable me to participate in a lot more chapter meetings as well. And so that's something that I see a lot of value in, obviously, for the organization. And once again, not every chapter is the same. It's not going to be the best option for every chapter, but it's something that I just want people to be receptive to, with the idea that it might allow for more collaboration and better feedback, especially from the office. One of the other benefits of Zoom is that you can record meetings. So if you have members that, voice that they would have liked to attend, but they can't for some reason, there is an option. It's not just, read the newsletter and you'll get what you need, because we know that in these meetings, a lot of things get talked about and it's not always covered in the newsletter. So the recordings are extremely helpful for those that missed out. There's a lot of useful features in Zoom that just help with member participation. You've got like the hand raising, we've got breakout rooms. There's all these tools that we can use to try to, generate ideas, build some structure and organization. Some of the challenges with Zoom, and somebody let me know if you see a hand up. Having the share screen thing is blocking my view for that. So just let me know if you have your hand up. So challenges are, you need a member who's familiar with technology to facilitate the Zoom, getting the equipment, being familiar with running the software, knowing what to do if for some reason there's a hiccup. Those are the biggest challenges, I would say. And I know that, with the aging population, it's tough. The technology learning curve is, it's a huge challenge. Technical issues are always a possibility with technology. And so that kind of ties in with the needing a member who's familiar with technology. Typically, technical issues are little things that can be solved pretty easily. Sometimes they're out of your control. And so we always have to take that into consideration. And, maybe it's not a bad idea to just have like a backup plan if virtual doesn't work out for some reason, or if you're having technical issues. Some of the other challenges are just members lacking tech skills in general. So folks that just don't know how to use a computer very well, and so they couldn't participate on Zoom even if they wanted to. I see that becoming less and less of an issue over time as the population is growing up more and more comfortable with technology, more exposed to it. I see technology issues kind of not being as much of a thing over time. But still, there's always going to be people that aren't very familiar with it. A lot of members just lack proper devices to use Zoom in general. You need a good smartphone or a laptop or a tablet, and then bad connection. You need a good internet connection. Before I continue, any questions? Okay. So I'm going to move on and cover what I call barriers to access. So when I say barriers to access, I'm talking about what kind of roadblocks are in the way that is stopping members from participating. From the virtual perspective is, internet availability and speed. Folks that live out in more remote areas, they don't really have an option to Zoom because their internet speed is not good enough to support that service. So even virtual can't solve all the problems of participation. Cell phone service, same kind of issue. Being in remote areas, some people don't have good cell service. I know even here, just outside of Olympia, I have one bar and it's questionable if I can get through to somebody. So I can't imagine living out in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, technology in general is a barrier to access. Cost, whether or not it's even going to be affordable. Is it easy to use, and does the person buying it know how to use it, or is going to be able to learn how? And just general familiarity with technology, troubleshooting, things like that. And so these are challenge points that I've identified that if we can address these, we can help improve member participation. Some of the other barriers to access is, health. How mobile is a member? Do they have an illness that prevents them from traveling or, participating for long periods of time? Is their mental health struggling? Is there COVID risks, and that's keeping them from wanting to be out? I see, we have a unique challenge in front of us for the future of membership, because we're going to have a lot more people coming in that, we're going to have the first 2-3 folks coming in. They're going to be a little bit younger. They're going to be more familiar with technology. Maybe they're not going to be as interested in the socializing aspect. These are all real questions that we have to look at as times change and as people adapt with the changing culture. So any questions or comments about these barriers to access?
This is Colleen. I live in remote Seattle, and our neighborhood might as well be in the outback. I was able to get on Zoom for the very first time in December 2021. And even right now, I've got this bar, that where you could, for this meeting, but there is no addition on the bar for me to be able to raise hands or any kind of the reactions that you can pull up. And it's because of low bandwidth. Thank you.
In Seattle, like outside.
We're not alone.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got a few folks that are having those issues with Zoom. Yeah, seeing this is good information. I appreciate you guys speaking up and letting me know that you have those challenges, because unless I know, I don't have a way to address those. So I'm going to take note of this, and if any of you have future issues with the Zoom or robocalls, things like that, please let me know. That way I can follow up on it. I appreciate that. Any other comments or questions on this before I move on? Okay. Oh, Nancy, are you trying to talk? You're still on mute, Nancy. Is Zoom breaking for you? Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go. Okay, sorry. I hope my swearing wasn't on there. I was just saying, sometimes the vocabulary has to be explained as well, because 2 of you mentioned something about bars, getting reception and these bars, and it's like, why are they going to the tavern? So I just think some of the times hear a word and they go off onto another thing about, oh, they get reception at the tavern.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, terminology is important.
So that means people have problem with vocabulary or what?
Yeah, some people don't know what a bar is, or something on your cell phone, or is it like a tavern you go to get a drink?
Yeah, that's a good point. Making sure that the terminology is universal and easily understood is going to be important for anybody that's wanting to participate in using the
More
technology.
bars.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, folks, if you don't want to share your personal conversations with everybody, you might want to mute yourself.
Thanks, Claire. All right. Any other comments or questions before I move on? All right.
I guess. I don't know.
So talking about adapting to membership challenges, there's a culture that we've got to foster that's going to encourage people to grow the organization and to participate and advocate on a collective magnitude. So it's important for the members of the organization to have a collective attitude to take action, because inaction is going to result in poor decision making with legislators and other boards and committees that affect your pension, healthcare, et cetera. We've got to develop more structure for recruitment, retention, and member participation. Like I kind of talked about earlier on in the presentation, there's membership plans that have been developed for each of the chapters. developed but not implemented. And I think that's where we're missing a piece of the equation, is that there's got to be an implementation piece to this. We can generate ideas all day and come up with some really awesome thoughts, but we have to be able to put them into practice. Otherwise, it's not going to be of any benefit to the organization. And so I see that happening by having more, district reps, chapter leaders, board members, committee members working together, putting their heads together to try to do some problem solving and figure out, maybe it's on a per chapter basis, how can we best implement these plans? But these are conversations that we need to have, and it takes leaders to be able to encourage members to follow through with these things. From the office, I've learned that we need to provide more training and support opportunities for, this implementation process. How are we supposed to implement it if we don't give any sort of direction or, sort of like a rubric on how to do that? Adapting to membership challenges by addressing the barriers to access, like I just covered in the previous slide. How can we best facilitate member participation, as many people as possible within reasonable means, within what we can afford to do, within how much time we have to do it. And then just exploring additional tools and resources that maybe are kind of outside the box that we haven't used before that might be able to suit our needs. And so these are kind of generalized statements, topics, and the purpose of this is just to get everybody thinking about, what are the challenges that you see for chapters in your district, or, if you're a chapter president, what challenges do you see in your chapter? These are the challenges that I see, and kind of an attitude and a direction to go on how to, resolve those issues. So any questions or comments on adapting to membership challenges before I move on to the legislative piece that Lori will cover? Go ahead, Claire.
I may be one topic behind here, but I had one thing that I didn't hear you say. You may have said it, but with regard to Zoom and how to use the tools and such, they have a whole host of short tutorials online for various topics, how to host a meeting and, how to do a hybrid meeting and things like that are very helpful.
No, that's a very great point, Claire. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't actually mention that in here, but that is, that's a great resource that you can access at your own leisure, and it's really simple and breaks down how to use the program. So, thanks for that mention there, Claire. Johanna?
The thing that hasn't been talked about and is the underlying problem for us is that a lot of people just don't have the time or the energy or the commitment, the level of commitment that's needed to take on these extra tasks. I'm having pretty good luck with delegating some things at this point in time, which is kind of new, but older people have, as you mentioned before, some of the barriers to their actual participation also includes their ability to commit to a schedule for implementing something, or it's just the way it is for us folks. So I don't know how to fix that. I'm looking for the fairy dust.
No, that's a very good point, Johanna. I don't want to make like a hard differentiation between age, but that's a completely valid point. All of our leaders for the most part are the older population of retirees, and any additional work maybe is not going to be able to be taken on. So that's an important part of the conversation to have too, the realistic aspect. What can we expect of people given their skills, their time, and their challenges, right? So thank you, Johanna, for mentioning that. Anybody else have any comments or questions before moving on? Okay. Lori, you're up if you're ready. Here, I'll can you all see that? There we go. Does everyone see
Okay.
the list of bills on the screen here?
Yes.
Okay,
Good to
thank
go.
you, Claire.
Great.
Go ahead, Lori.
So I'm going to cover this very quickly, and then we're going to dive very deeply into it in the next call. So yesterday afternoon, we had some incredibly exciting news, but there's a but behind it. The but is that we have to mobilize really fast because our 4 priority bills all have public hearings next week. And one of the bills has a hearing on Monday. And so the reason I have been off camera is I'm busy working on mobilization materials that I hope all of you will help to share with your members to get as many members as we can signing in pro. So I'll just take a minute and say three of these 4 bills specifically pertain to the work that we have been engaged in for decades around restoring a permanent COLA for our Plan 1 retirees. House Bill 1057 and Senate Bill 5350 are companion bills. So they both are bills that we actually worked on together through your exceptional work this past fall with the Select Committee on Pension Policy. Those 2 bills relate to, those 2 bills include language to create a pathway to a permanent COLA. And they provide a one-time 3% COLA effective July 1st of this year. House Bill 1459, to our delight, was filed yesterday. And that bill actually restores a permanent COLA to all Plan 1 members. That's all that bill does. And that has an emergency clause that allows the permanent COLA to begin on July 1st. So there's no need in that bill to have an ad hoc COLA because there already will be restoration of a permanent COLA for Plan 1 retirees. That bill will be heard on Thursday. And then the final bill, Senate Bill 5169, is one of our bills that we were behind initiating along with our PEB stakeholders Medicare Coalition. This bill should be of interest to anyone who has their medical plans through the Healthcare Authority, the Public Employees Benefits Board. We have been advised by our lobbyist, and also this has been confirmed through our work with WEAR and their lobbyist, that the best way to handle our work right now, given the short timeline and given where these bills are positioned on their agendas for the public hearings, to get as many of our members out as possible signing in pro. So in every case, our bills aren't the first ones to be heard in these committees. They're the last ones. So what we've been asked to do is get your members out in numbers signing in pro. And if they can, after doing that, submit written testimony. So what you have here, do you want to transition to the next frame, Jacob, please? You will be getting an email from us. Many of you know this drill. We're walking through step by step how to sign in for pro. It takes literally, once you do it once, it's like this. Okay, it's very, very quick. But we're asking all of our leaders to do this minimally. If every single RPEC chapter president and officer, if every single executive board member signs in pro, we're going to have a nice critical mass behind each one of these bills. And I'm working behind the scenes with our partners, as is our lobbyist, to get our partners to do the same so that we have like hundreds of people signing in pro on these bills. And then the stories to go with it. We do not know, being last on these agendas, if the panels that we're putting together will even have time to testify. But we have been advised to put together panels, and so we're working on that, and we'll talk more in our next meeting about what those will look like. That's what I wanted you to know if you can't make it to the legislative call. that we need your help ASAP on this. And we're trying to be lightning fingers today to try to do as much as we can to get some tools in place so that we can be successful together. But the focus is on signing in pro. Carol.
Can you go back to the first slide, please? I just need to get the dates and times down. Thank you.
And we'll be showing this in the next meeting as well and talking about it. It's reinforced in what I'm writing to you that you'll be getting as an email as a leader of the organization. So you all know the drill. We're going to provide the best tools we can in the time we have. We're going to ask you to please sign in pro. And then we're going to ask you to use your influence as a leader of the organization to try to get as many of your members to follow suit and to do this with us. And so that's what we hope to do. And we don't have a lot of time to do it in. Signing in pro, as I said, is very quick. Many of you have done this for years. You can sign in pro up to an hour before the hearing takes place. It's better to do it right away. Written testimony can be received 24 hours after the public hearing has concluded. Or excuse me, public testimony must be submitted 24 hours from the start of the public hearing. So for example, we have a public hearing that's taking place on Monday at 4 o'clock, and that hearing is Ways and Means. So if your written testimony isn't prepared by Monday, you can submit it on Tuesday before 4 o'clock. Is your hand still raised, Carol?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's not.
Okay. I'm going to give the floor back to Jacob. Thank you for a few minutes of your time.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. We're kind of wrapping up a little earlier than expected. Not as much conversation as I was expecting, but not an issue nonetheless. Anybody have any questions or comments before we adjourn this meeting? Lori, do you have anything else you wanted to add? Oh, you're muted, Lori.
I don't, but maybe Carol and Claire can just hold on now for just a moment if they have time.
All right.
Will this be included in an email so we can send that off to other members?
Yeah, we're working on them right now. You won't
Okay,
get them for a bit because we have the legislative call to do, but hopefully by close of business today, we'll get out that email.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Appreciate everybody who's able to attend today, and look forward to seeing you all at a leadership call in the future.
Good job, Jacob.
Thank you so much.
Everyone.
Take care, everybody.